If you're an engineering student desperately applying for hundreds of energy jobs and you're getting nothing but rejection letters, you need to stop applying now. I know that sounds crazy, especially when graduation's approaching and you're watching all your uni classmates win six-figure roles. But in reality, the students getting hired aren't the ones submitting thousands of applications. They're doing something completely different. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact 5-step targeting system that helped me to win a six-figure grad role straight out of uni in the Australian energy sector. Step number 1 is to define your target. When you're one out of thousands of applicants applying for a single grad role, you're essentially playing the lottery. But when you apply to hundreds of roles spanning asset owners to system operators to oil and gas, you're making your odds even worse because hiring managers can spot a copy-paste application from a mile away. Put yourself in their shoes. If you were hiring for an entry-level position in renewable energy, would you choose the student who's tailored their cover letter to the role, or the generalized applicant that sends a resume that's clearly been templated to somewhat align with over 200 companies? My personal experience proves this. The average engineering graduate who applies to 150 plus positions might get 3 interviews if they're lucky. Meanwhile, focused candidates who apply to only 5 to 10 carefully selected roles land interviews with nearly all of them. So the question then becomes, if you're only sending a handful of applications, which specific role should you be applying for? Unlike what's taught at university, the Australian energy sector isn't split down the middle into renewables and fossil fuels. You've got massive infrastructure projects like Project Energy Connect, billion-dollar grid modernization initiatives, hydrogen development, carbon capture technology, microgrid implementation for large loads, and AI-based energy trading algorithms. The sector is so broad that each of these areas need a different engineering specialization. So how do you choose which path to focus on when there are so many options? You need alignment between your technical strengths, interests, ideal career trajectory, and market demand. To make this easier, I created a 90-second quiz that takes your strengths, interests, and career ambitions and calculates the most suitable energy subsector. You can take it for free by clicking the top link in the description. So finding your target is the first step, but just the beginning. Next, you need to prove the hiring manager that you've done your research, which leads to step number 2, which is subsector research. One lesson I learned through my time as a graduate was that the work you do day to day varies by several magnitudes, even within the same company, due to the broad responsibilities of the energy sector. While I spent the majority of my time in my first rotation in a field-based project management role, my next rotation saw me interacting in the control room, largely based at a desk. So how do you actually figure out what companies do before you apply, so that you can make sure your application's tailored to them? From step number 1, your target subsector will have a list of companies that operates within it. So the natural goal of this research stage is to further understand the roles they play in 2 steps. First, identify the primary role of your chosen subsector of the broader energy sector. For an electricity network service provider, their role would be to provide reliable energy to their customers and ensure this can be kept up over the next 30 years, which is ultimately depending on interfacing subsectors like energy retailers and overarching market bodies. And the second step is to extend this level of analysis to a company level. So again, let's take the example that I'm working for an electricity network service provider and I'm potentially interested in a career in Electronet. So the best way to get knowledge of what the company's all about is to go to their website, because that gives you access to 3 things. Number 1 is their mission, which you can normally get by selecting the About Us page. In this case, the About Us page leads us through our story and purpose, gives you insights directly into what the leadership team and the vision of the company looks like over 5 to 10 years, which is ultimately what you're looking for when you're looking to get into an entry-level role at the graduate level. In addition to this, a lot of network service provider companies give a high-level overview of their grid, and in this case, how the transmission network interacts with different parts of the grid, and specifically the challenges that they're undergoing. So transmission network service providers at the moment are dealing with a challenge where a lot of distribution networks are actually adding generation to the grid. Instead of consuming power, they're providing power, which is what Electronet are highlighting here. So ultimately with this company research, what you're looking to do is align the company's vision with the vision that you've got for your life, let's say 5 to 10 times. And if those align, then you're set and the company's right for you. Ultimately, you're looking to build a list of around 5 to 10 companies that classified as suitable for you. Moving on, company research is a great start, but it can only get you so far because specific roles vary quite wildly, which is where role profile analysis becomes quite critical, leading into step number 3 being to research roles and responsibilities. As a student, you've got several different ways to find out what it's actually like working for your target company, the simplest of which is analyzing the role profile for your target job. A role profile is effectively a worded representation of what your responsibilities would look like working in a certain job. So they're a great way to actually get insight into what your day-to-day life could look like if you win the role. There are 3 places I'd suggest to look for role profile information. The first place is the LinkedIn jobs board. So for this example, I'm going to jump over to the jobs board and type in a target graduate role. For this example, I'm going to choose a graduate role at BHP. So let's look it up and see what we've got here. So you can see on the left here, there's a role advertising out at the moment. So as you may frequently understand as a grad roles, normally these grad roles are only open for around 1 or 2 months of the year, generally in February or August if they do 2 intakes. So in this case, the graduate roles are open, and what companies will generally do is they'll either post the description in here, which in this case BHP has done. This is what you would call a role profile. And effectively these will catch all the different details of the role, which I'll go into later. The second place you can look is actually on the company website. So the second and third options are kind of the same. What I'm going to show you to begin with is the careers portal option. So most companies will have within their website embedded a careers portal, which is what I'm just navigating to here. What this looks like is effectively normally a success factors interface where, similar to LinkedIn, you can just search what sort of opportunities you're looking for. And as you can see here, it will shows up straight away. Graduate engineering campaign. And this will actually match generally what we've got in LinkedIn. It'll just be a copy and paste. So the advantages of going straight through the career portal versus LinkedIn is that normally on this, you'll actually have a button to apply straight away, whereas LinkedIn normally brings you to this portal. Now, if we go back to the homepage, I want to showcase option number 3, which is actually the careers homepage on the website. A lot of big companies that actually offer these entry-level programs will have a detailed explainer on their website about what they are, what they offer, and when these open every year. And so in this case, BHP's offers are right here. In terms of registering for updates, this is a great example of how you could provide your email and get sent marketing information when the opportunities open. In this case, BHP's done a great job of providing some background information as to the opportunities you can expect with the future at BHP, different engineering career paths, what they hire, so you can see it's not limited to engineering in this case, the values and mission. If you can't find any role profile information on those 3 sources across the different suite of companies, adjacent to company-specific information, professional associations like Engineers Australia and the Clean Energy Council have member directories that are gold mines of information. So as we just experienced, finding these profiles is one thing, but extracting the right information from them is another. When interpreting role profiles, students mistakenly focus their attention on job titles and companies. But in my view, the real value is really found in the skills and opportunities for progression over time. So if I jump back to the BHP profile, what you really want to break down in a role profile is effectively skills and opportunities for progression and what the actual day-to-day looks like. And so what we offer you is generally the benefits. So for example here, a permanent role, a culture of care and connection, perks and benefits, relocation support. What we are looking for is the specific skills and qualifications that you would be expected to know or have the interest in learning. Again, don't take these, what we are looking for, as face value. A lot of these can be built over time, but your general qualifications will be something under here. So for example, if you're applying for an engineering role, you probably need an engineering degree. In addition to this, talking about skills and progression or day-to-day life, these are generally the titles you'll be looking for. So what you'll experience as a BHP graduate and about the role. Again, for these graduate type programs, it's always interesting to see the term that's offered. In this case, it's a 2-year program. Now, in addition to a what's in it for you as the graduate, you've also got to take away some key terms and keywords that you can then use down the track to communicate with these individuals and, in the end, write your application. In addition to this, a lot of these companies actually give an overview of the recruitment process within these applications, which gives you very valuable insights into how the hiring process actually works and what you can expect. But there's only so much information you can take from online resources, and this is the stuff that every student can access. The best way to get ahead of them is to find information that isn't so accessible, which leads into step number 4, being to connect with industry. Worded job descriptions provide a surface level abstraction of what the high level management thinks the role actually looks like. But the only way to find out the details is to get into contact with the hiring managers working on the recruitment and current employees working within the roles to tell you what the job actually involves. They can warn you about challenges that aren't mentioned in jobs postings. They can tell you what skills are really valued versus what are just listed as nice to haves. But most importantly, they can give you insights into the company culture and ultimately what the hiring managers are actually looking for in interviews. The best way to start connecting with these people anywhere around Australia is on LinkedIn. So defaulting back to the example of the BHP graduate program, where I would start is actually clicking back on the job advert and clicking on the company. So LinkedIn's got quite a good feature. If you go to the company and then scroll over to people, it gives you suggestions for people you may know. And now naturally this will gravitate this toward local connections, so people close to you, and therefore people who might actually attend local networking events where you can meet up. So if I was a graduate looking to get information on what BHP roles may involve, I would scroll through this list of people and look for 2 types of connections. Number 1, I would be looking for either a hiring manager or people involved in the hiring process. Now, you can actually get that from the job advert. Most of those role profiles will have the hiring manager who's responsible for that hiring program at the bottom. But adjacent to the hiring manager, looking for technical leads, but my favorite is probably looking for grads, because they're the people who've gone through the hiring process recently and know what it actually looks like and what it takes to succeed versus get rejected. So scrolling through this list, I would literally come through and say, Matthew, as you can see, graduate, Haresh, graduate, Adarsha, graduate. I would be connecting with these people and sending them a message. It's a simple way to not only get involved in the ecosystem, but touch base with the people who have actually done what you're trying to do over the past year. Gone from student to working in industry. Because ultimately, I'm of the opinion that if you want to walk a similar path to someone else, the best way is to get into contact with them and understand the steps they've had to take to get there, because more likely than not, you're going to have to walk that same path. Once you've found your target connections, connecting with people and messaging them on LinkedIn is the secondary approach. The best approach I've found is actually using upcoming industry events as your conversation starter. Reaching out to ask if they're attending gives a more natural reason to connect. When you do reach out, asking specific questions that relate to their work or to your interest in the career at the company. For example, if I was reaching out to an electricity network service provider, I could ask, I'm interested in a career in a distribution network service provider. What's it like working there as a graduate? What skills you wish you developed at uni? How do you transition from a graduate to your current position? For the actual outreach, as I said earlier, LinkedIn messages generally work well, but I would recommend keeping them light and answerable on the commute, as that's generally how I respond to LinkedIn messages. Adjacent to that, university alumni networks work quite well because a lot of those people have just left university and understand the pain point of that transition. And if you get a chance to meet them in person, coffee chats are quite good. 20 to 30 minutes of genuine curiosity about their career path, not a job interview, is quite appealing to some people, because not only is it good to interact with people who are coming up in the industry, but it's also a good break from their busy lives. So now you're armed with insider knowledge for 10 plus companies you're interested in applying for. But it's the final step that's most important for securing that 6-figure role at a top energy company. Leading into step number 5, being to focus your target. What I hope I've communicated so far is that finding your target companies involves a huge amount of work, meaning that if you cast your net too wide from the beginning, you're setting yourself up for burnout. When you think about submitting, you have to focus. Focus simply means saying no to responsibilities that don't align with your research. And further down the line, it means tailoring every application based on your insider knowledge. So how do you actually make those tough decisions to take the 10 opportunities and nail it down to your core 3 to 5 that you're going to apply for? Back in early 2025, when I transitioned my career path, I evaluated the 2 opportunities based on 3 factors. Number 1 was learning potential, assessing the roles based upon the skills that I could learn that I would, number 1, interested in, but number 2, that are valuable across the industry and are prerequisites of the future roles that I hope to grow into as my career progresses. Leading into the second factor, which was career progression. Now, asking myself questions here like, would this role provide me with the opportunity, skills, and ultimately responsibilities to climb to senior roles into 5 to 7 years? And factor number 3, which is a bit subtle, but cultural fit. Based on conversations with past employees and hiring staff, would I actually look forward to meeting people within the organization, working them to overcome significant challenges, and ultimately spending my next 30 years working with them to achieve mighty goals in the energy transition? If you're like me, you genuinely seem to overthink everything at the next turn. So my ultimate advice here is to seek out people who you take advice from, evaluate those decisions rationally, and ultimately, if an opportunity ticks all those boxes, add it to your 3 to 5. So that's your opportunity target. Ultimately, you've taken a broad interest in energy, narrowed it down to a list of 3 to 5 that will be the basis of your application process. And honestly, if you've got this far, congratulations. You've taken the first step toward an entry-level career in energy. But there are 2 additional steps that you need to complete before you even think about submitting applications. Otherwise, you're guaranteed to miss out on the top programs. I break these 2 steps down in a separate video right here. Click on the link to check it out.